Hello again, gamers. Welcome back for another episode of Grokking Battletech. I'm the board game captain, and today I'm going to be doing a deep dive and telling you how to grok the Grand Titan. So I want to start off by giving a big thank you to one of my viewers, one of my regular watchers, MR, who requested that I cover the Grand Titan in an episode of Grokking Battletech. So MR, this episode is for you. So now, before I get too into this, I do want to say I've got a ton of links in the description down below that you can check out at your leisure. There's a link to BoardGameCaptain.com, which is a great hub for all things Board Game Captain. And Lynn and I have started doing some semi-regular blog posts over there, as well as a link to my Teespring store. You can get some cool gamer gear, t-shirts, mugs, etc., like the t-shirt I'm wearing right now that says, "I drink and I game, it's what I do." Head over there if you'd like to get some cool Board Game Captain merch. And there's also a link to my Patreon, if you're in a position to, and would like to support the channel. All right, so let's talk now about the Grand Titan. Let's talk about its variants. Let's talk about custom versions I would make, as well as a Lance I would make and a Mech Warrior I would recommend for it. So let's start off with the standard version of the Grand Titan, which is the Grand Titan TIT N10 Mech. It's a bit of a long designation. It is T-IT India Tango dash November 10 Mech. So this Grand Titan, the basic version of the Grand Titan, is a 100-ton assault mech with a ludicrous amount of firepower, a very decent amount of armor, and it moves faster than a normal assault mech. So why is it not seeing as much table presence as a lot of other 100-ton mechs, you might be saying? And I'm going to answer that. It's got some really glaring issues with it. Now, like I said, armor is very good. Firepower is very good. Speed for an assault mech, quite decent. But there's some Achilles heels here because you can't have everything. All right, so let's talk about it. So the first thing we've got here is the speed. Now, it is a 4.6. Most assault mechs are 3.5s. This makes it fast for an assault mech, but really, in reality, just on par with a good number of heavies and most mediums, with plenty of mediums even being much faster than this. So it's not super fast, it's just fast for an assault mech, which can be surprising to some people. The next thing I want to talk about is the weapons loadout. Now, the weapons on this thing are insane. This is one of its strongest points. We have a anti-missile system in the head. We have 2 small pulse lasers facing the rear, one on each side torso. There is an SRM-6 with an Artemis 4 in the right torso and another one in the left torso. We've got 2 large pulse lasers in the right arm, 1 medium pulse laser also in the right arm, an LRM-15 with an Artemis 4 in the left arm, and another medium pulse laser in the left arm. So at first glance, this is an insane amount of firepower. This is just ludicrous. There's no big guns, there's no autocannon 20s, there's no Gauss rifles, but this is just a lot of guns. This is a death by 1,000 cuts. This is a lot of pulse weapons. This is a lot of missile systems, both LRMs and SRMs, all with Artemis 4s. Yeah, and it has an anti-missile system, which can be quite good, and even better later on when you move into like the Jihad era, where you get even more interesting and diverse missile systems. But it's a bit of an odd weapons loadout, because the thing is, you've got a fairly fast mech here, and all of the pulse weapons and the SRM-6s, they kind of make a lot of sense because you're moving fairly quickly for an assault mech. You're going to close that distance and then unload with these big guns, but there's a few of these weapons where you're like, why? And the one that stands out the most to me is the LRM-15. Now, the LRM-15 is a decent weapon, but where it's firing at, very few of your other weapons are going to have range. In fact, at a fairly decent range where you can fire with the LRM-15, nothing else is going to have range, and you're going to be running, which makes it very unlikely for that LRM-15 to hit, because you're going to want to run until you're in range with most of those other guns, the large pulse lasers, the medium pulse lasers, the SRM-6s, to be able to fire with them. And then sure, there is a small area where you have this happy medium where you can fire with everything, but if this mech fires with everything, with the fact that it only has 12 double heat sinks, it will ridiculously overheat, so maybe you don't want to fire with everything. So there's a few things in here that, just looking at the weapons loadout and not even really taking much else into effect, except for maybe the amount of heat that it can soak, there's some questions I have there already. The next thing I want to talk about is the armor. Now, this is a place where this excels, and I have no downside to the amount of armor. The armor is great. You have 42 armor on the center torso, 31 on each side torso, 29 on each arm, 38 on each leg, the full 9 on the head, and even on the rear, we've got an 11 on each side torso in the rear and 19 on the center. This thing can take a punch. This is one of the better armored mechs in the entire game. Really, really tough nut to crack. That said, I feel like every time I have a positive, there's got to be a negative. It's not quite as survivable as you would think. Now, what I'm going to talk about has nothing to do with the armor. The armor itself is great. It's got fantastic armor. But this is a mech that, in order to fit all this on it, had to get an extra light fusion engine, which means you've got 3 fusion engine crits in the left and right torso each. It has ammo in the left, right, and center torso. And if any one of those ammos go critical, while it's got enough to clear out the internal structure in any of those torso sections, this mech is dead. So a lucky shot after clearing out the considerable amount of armor, and it is a considerable amount of armor, but if you clear out the considerable amount of armor in the left, right, or center torso and get a crit, for instance, on the right torso, if you were to get a crit in one of the ammo bins for the SRM-6, or in the center torso for the anti-missile system, or in the left torso for the other SRM-6, or the ammo bins for the LRM-15, any of those could just destroy this mech. And that's a lot of crit spots that could totally destroy this mech. So generally speaking, this mech has a lot of good things about it, but it's also got a lot of questionable and some really, really bad things about it that make me worry. So, all right, what other variants have we got? So the other major variant we have is the Grand Titan TIT N11M. Now this version, it's a little bit more expensive battle value wise, and we've basically kept the armor the same. The speed is the same. The heat sinking capacity goes up to 16 double heat sinks, which is definitely significantly better. This can take and absorb a lot more heat, and the weapons loadout is a little better too. There's still some questionable things, but it's pretty nice. So the first thing is we get an ER small laser on the head. We have a Guardian ECM suite. This kind of replaces the anti-missile system, and actually, generally speaking, is a little more versatile than an anti-missile system, because this works against a larger number of offensive things that your opponent could have, like C3 networks and Artemis 4 systems, etc. So yeah, so that is pretty nice. Then we have 2 medium pulse lasers in the right torso, as well as a Streak SRM-4 in the right torso. Now, I like these Streak systems. Yes, they don't hit as hard as those SRM-6s with the Artemis 4s, but a Streak SRM-4 will only cause you the heat and the ammo expenditure if it actually connects. So I do like that. On the left torso for the same, we have 2 medium pulse lasers and another Streak SRM-4. In the right arm, we have an ER PPC, which is nice because unlike that LRM-15, you don't have a minimum range with it. And then in the left arm, we have a light Gauss rifle, which again, we got a nice big long-range weapon with a minimum range. So the light Gauss rifle, granted, this is, again, another death by 1,000 cuts kind of loadout. We've got a lot of small amounts of damage. The light Gauss rifle only does 8 damage. The AR PPC does 10, and that's the most powerful weapon on the mech. Still very dangerous. I do like this version better because it has a little bit less ammo to worry about exploding, though it's still there. You still have that extra light fusion engine, and that's still an issue. And there is the ammo for the 2 Streak SRM-4s. But they are all located on the left side, so you do have the option to start kind of walking in one direction and firing to the right, doing torso twists to avoid the hits on the left torso and protect that ammo if you can. They put a case system in there, but in reality, that case system is not going to help you if you get an ammo explosion on the left torso. You're still going to be a dead mech. It will take the mech out with one of those ammo explosions. But, like I said, circling them and firing to the right is still a much more viable tactic, which is why I like the 11M significantly better than the 10M, and it feels like this has a more dedicated role of you run up to get in range, and then you start walking to the left and circling the enemy and unloading on them with all of those weapons, or most of those weapons. You do still have a heat issue, but it's not as bad, again, because of the 16 double heat sinks. Now, the next version of the Titan is the T13M. Now, the T13M Grand Titan is based on a field refit. This one actually starts to get some heavy firepower in it. I am usually a fan of heavy firepower, though it is a little weird because this is not the sort of general doctrine that you see behind the Grand Titan. Usually they're like a death by 1,000 cuts sort of mech. But this one gets a heavy PPC, which is nice. It does 15 damage, and you can possibly head cap somebody with this. It's a very powerful weapon. It then has 2 ER medium lasers to back that up, a single ER large laser, 2 regular medium lasers, probably the most cost-efficient to damage weapon in the game in regard to how much weight and battle value it costs. You have a small pulse laser, and then it also has a sword, which I do think is pretty awesome, and I like the concept of this starting to become a melee mech because it does look like it should be the sort of thing that wants to get in and mix it up. In addition, this mech has triple strength my armor, which I do approve of because triple strength my armor is great for a melee mech. But again, we get this kind of weird situation where you're dealing with a mech that has a weapon with a minimum range, and again, that of course here is the heavy PPC, while having melee, good at melee. So you're going to get into melee and you're going to be significantly less likely to hit with that heavy PPC while you're wanting to hack away with the sword. I do feel like the inclination to make this get as close as possible and want to duke it out with your enemy is a good idea, but then you should probably get rid of those weapons with minimum ranges. All right, so again, I have issues with this loadout as well. And then the fourth and final version of the Grand Titan, because there's only 4 canon versions, is the TIT N14R Grand Titan Vengeance. This is my least favorite version of all the versions. This is a mixed tech, so you got some clan tech in here. Advanced rules version of the Grand Titan, where they literally just turn it into a walking platform for a thumper artillery piece. Which my opinion is, if you put an artillery piece on a mech, it's kind of a waste of a mech. Mech should be more mobile firepower, more kind of, lots of firepower at all different ranges, some powerful, some weaker. But yeah, using it literally as just a walking thumper is really, really underwhelming for me. Plus, you have to be playing advanced tech to use it. And generally speaking, I'm more of a fan of playing just the standard rules. So yeah, I have a lot of issues with that. So all right, so none of these versions are great. Again, the 11M is my favorite by far, even though I do like some of the things that the 13M did. I like the sword, I like the heavy PPC. It's just I don't like them together. It causes some issues with me where your 2 most powerful weapons really don't mesh well. I kind of feel like instead of a heavy PPC, they should have gone for like an autocannon 20 or an LBX autocannon 20, so that you could still use it at that point blank range with the sword. So yes, I do like some of these versions. Yes, I would try some of these versions, but I have my own version. I want to jump right into my own version that I have designed that I think, in my opinion, I like much better than any of the canon versions. So let's talk about it. So what I've done is I wanted to make a version of the Grand Titan that is usable in the Clan Invasion time period. This is a refit that was designed by KIWF, my own personal mech design firm, that is named after the first letter of the last names of its 4 founders, but is affectionately nicknamed Kill It With Fire by its fans. So this is the Grand Titan TIT N10M-KIWF. So this mech, the first thing I wanted to do is I love the idea of the triple strength my armor from the 13M, so I wanted that on here. I really wanted to focus in on it being able to run into those close range, to unload with all of those weapons, lots and lots of weapons at medium to close range, and then maybe, mix it up in some melee, throw some melee hits. I did like that idea on the 13M, so I put it here. So I added triple strength my armor. But then I also took off all the weapons and kind of really customized the weapon loadout quite a bit. And I added half a ton of armor to the arms to bring up the arm armor to 33. I also increased the heat sinks up to the 16 double heat sinks that the 11M had, because I did really like the extra heat sinking capacity of the 11M. Though, of course, you do still want more firepower to be able to heat up and engage the triple strength my armor. And I did specifically work out a lot of weapons here, so you can alpha strike and crazy overheat if you want, but also weapons that have combinations that you can do to make it to that 9 heat and to maintain that 9 heat while running or walking. Because so I have a lot of different combinations of weapons. So let's talk about what I gave to the Grand Titan. So first off, I left on the 2 large pulse lasers from the original 10M version, but I split them up. I put 1 on each arm, and these are the only weapons on the arms. And the reason is, and we'll get to that in a minute, it's the Mech Warrior I chose for this because I really like that fist fire ability, and I think large pulse lasers are going to be fantastic for that fist fire ability, but we're going to get into that in just a moment. But yes, I left 1 of those each on each arm, so it's got a pair of large pulse lasers. Next, I added on the 2 ERPPCs. Now these things give you something to fire while you're incredibly long range, and also can help you maintain those high levels of heat that you do want, because they do 15 heat each, but they do 10 damage each at up to 23 hexes away. So crazy good long range. 1 in the right torso, 1 in the left torso. Next, I did like the medium pulse laser, so I decided to put a medium pulse laser on each side torso, 1 on each, and 2 in the center torso. I think the medium pulse lasers are great. They're a fantastic weapon. And then to round out this loadout, I gave him a small pulse laser in the head. Now, something you may notice is this is nothing but energy weapons. And this is intentional because I wanted to remove that very dangerous thing of having ammo bins in the left torso, right torso, or center torso that could explode and just take out the mech. Now, you still could get in there and get some crit hits on the engine, sure, and if you do enough damage, you could wipe out a full torso location and shut down this mech. Those dangers are still there, but they're not as bad without the ammo bins. This is a significant way to increase the ability for this mech to take damage, along with the fact that I even upped the armor on the arms a little bit, like I said, to 33 armor on each arm. So I feel like I've made this mech much more survivable. In addition, with the extra speed from once you get at 9 heat and you can start running at 8 hexes a turn, you're going to close the distance quicker to be able to just be this big, scary mech bearing down on your enemy with all these weapons. And moving faster means it's going to be a little harder for your enemy to hit you. Getting all the way up to a possible 8 hexes per turn, of course, means that we're talking about a possible +3 extra difficulty to hit the target if you're shooting at the Grand Titan. That's while running and moving at least 7 hexes, of course. You get that +3 difficulty, but it's on the table now because you can get that kind of speed while you're heating up with your triple strength Myanmar. In addition, with the triple strength Myanmar, there's an extra incentive to get in there in melee. Now, none of these weapons have a minimum range, which means you can still keep firing any of these at minimum range. But if you get in close and you stop firing the 2 arm weapons, which are the large pulse lasers, what you're going to want to do is you're going to do a 1-2 punch. Now, keep in mind, these normally do 10 damage apiece, but with the triple strength Myanmar at the 9 heat, these are now 20 damage apiece. These are now head-capping weapons. Yeah, none of the guns are, but your fists are. If either one of these, and they each have a 1 in 6 chance, you get 2 chances with a 1 in 6 each to hit the head. If either one of them hit the head is gone. In addition, because this mech is specifically designed to be used with a Mech Warrior that has the fist fire ability, as long as you hit an area that maybe you're just about to destroy or just about to break through and possibly get a crit hit on, you could do the fist fire ability and then also fire off the large pulse laser, which again, we're going to talk about more in a minute when we're talking about the Mech Warrior. But yeah, this is my version of the Grand Titan. I think it's a significantly better version than any of the canon versions. I like it a lot more, and this is one I would definitely play with. While the other ones are ones I might try out, this is one I would really enjoy trying out on the tabletop. So as this is my favorite version, I've decided to use this version with the Mech Warrior and with the lance that I'm making for it. This is a bit out of the ordinary. I decided to do something a little different. Usually I still pick one of the canon versions to use with the Mech Warrior and use with the lance, but I like this version so much, the one that I made. And I do feel like it is so similar to the kind of mech they were going for with the first couple of versions of the Grand Titan, that I just really want to use it with a Mech Warrior and a lance. So first, I'm going to be using, my Mech Warrior is Delmar Clay. Now, Delmar Clay is a 4-cost mech warrior. So of course you're going to be using this if you are agreeing to play with a 4-cost mech warrior. He has a gunnery of 3 and a piloting of 3, and he has 2 abilities that I feel for this version of the Grand Titan are fantastic, and those are dodge and fist fire. So first off with dodge, you get to make a piloting skill roll when you are targeted during the physical attack phase. Now you're going to want to get into that melee phase to hit with those fists, but you're not going to want to have to take the hits back. But the great thing about this is you check what your margin of success is for that piloting skill roll, and any incoming physical attacks are only successful with a equal to or greater margin of success in hitting you. So again, you've got your piloting all the way down to a 3. So anybody without boosted piloting skill is going to have trouble matching most of your rolls, especially if you roll high. So this is going to make you very defensible. Even if you go into duke it out with another 100-ton mech like an Atlas, they're going to be swinging and missing while you're slamming them for 20 damage each punch. This is going to be really fantastic. And then, of course, the fist fire says that when successfully punching with an arm, now this particular card has the older version of the text where they specifically note what mech it uses for, but of course all of these abilities are linked back to their versions in the books. And the fist fire ability says once per turn, when successfully connecting with a hit, you can decide to fire 1 direct energy or direct ballistic weapon on that arm as well, with a extra -1 difficulty modifier. And as long as you succeed at hitting, it will hit the same spot that you hit with your fist. So now keep that in mind, that what we're talking about here is a fist that's doing 20 damage, and we're talking about using also a large pulse laser, because I put 1 on each of the fists, and those large pulse lasers are quite dangerous at another 9 damage, and with a -2 difficulty, that +1 difficulty means they just drop to a -1 difficulty to hit the target. This could wind up being very easily being 29 points of damage to a single location. You can use these punches to rip another mech in half. Could be really, really deadly. I think this is a really awesome mech warrior to put in the my version of the Grand Titan TIT N10M So there you go. Now, I wanted to make a lance with this, but I also, again, wanted to do something kind of different because I was having fun with designing my version of the Grand Titan. I wanted to design a very fluffy and fun lance that was very different from a lot of the ones I do. So I decided, for the first time ever, I was going to make a support lance. Now, the interesting thing about the support lance is a support lance has no requirements. You can put any mechs in there. Now, generally speaking, the downside of using custom mechs and trying to get one of your, custom lance abilities is that they don't have rolls. They're not bruisers or juggernauts because they're a custom made mech. So they won't help satisfy the requirements of the specific lance abilities from the Battletech Clan Invasion book. So you really, really need to use them sparingly if you're trying to get these abilities, but not with a support lance, because the support lance, anything goes. And the way the support lance works is you get to use half of the ability of another lance in your force. So the idea here is this is meant to be a force to take on the clans. You, when playing against an enemy clan mech who is using a full star, usually you're going to be playing a huge amount of battle value. I often wind up playing around 12,000 battle value with that, and they'll get their 5 mechs, 5 decent sized mechs. But you yourself, as an inner sphere player, are going to get 2 full lances for 12,000 battle value. So the idea here is you make 1 lance that you either have be a heavy striker / cavalry lance, or a command lance, or a fire lance, or a battle lance. You basically have it be one of those, and then you have this be a support lance along with it to get half of the ability. And in addition, this particular lance, which I'm going to be telling you now, is not a full 6,000 battle value. I actually am 419 battle value short. So I saved that 419 battle value for the primary lance that this one is going to be backing up. And now, in regard to those abilities, I'm going to talk about what you would get depending on whether your first lance was a battle lance, command lance, fire lance, or heavy cavalry lance in a moment. But first, what other mechs have I taken in here? These are all other mechs that are custom versions that I have already used in other episodes of Grokking Battletech. I decided to go with that. So, of course, for the first one, I've got the Grand Titan that I just made. Next, I have the mech that I made in the last episode, the Scorpion SCP-1N KIWF 2, the version for the clan invasion time period. This is a 6'9 movement Scorpion with 3 SRM-6s and a medium pulse laser. This thing is fast, maneuverable, great for running around canyons or buildings and sneaking up on enemies and unloading on them at point blank range. As you can see, I'm going with a theme of mobile, lots of small guns to come in and just rip your enemy apart. Now, the next mech I'm using is the custom mech that I did all the way back with the Assassin episode, way back in the day. So now this is a very fast mech. It has a movement of 7, 11, 7, so 7 jumping, 11 running. And this thing is loaded up. We have 6 small lasers in the right arm, 5 small lasers in the left arm, 4 small lasers in the right torso, 4 small lasers in the left torso, and 1 small laser on the head. This thing is going to run around while your enemy is distracted by the other mechs and get into the rear and unload with all those small lasers and just peel off the rear armor of a mech well above its weight class. Because again, just to count that up, we're talking about 20 small lasers, which is nuts. Now, granted, this is going to be a mech that doesn't fire that much, but once it gets in there and is able to unload on somebody, it's going to be deadly. And then finally, to round out the group, we have the custom mech that I had made in my Wolfhound episode. It is the Wolfhound WLF2 KIWF. This is another clan invasion mech, and this one is loaded up with medium lasers. We have 2 medium lasers on the right torso, 2 medium lasers on the left torso, 2 medium lasers on the center torso, 1 medium laser in the head, 1 medium laser on the left leg, and 1 medium laser on the right leg, keeping the arms free for being able to punch, so it can again run in there, fire off all those lasers, and give the 1-2 punch to the enemy. Yeah, so this feels like a very fun lance to me. And now, what kind of abilities could we mix in? So now, again, you get half of the ability, making it a support lance from the other version. So I'm going to go from I think least useful to most useful, in my opinion, for the different lances that you can make for this lance to back up in a 12,000 battle value list. So the least useful but still useful, I think, is the heavy cavalry lance. Basically, you will allow one of your mechs to move 1 hex faster each round with this support lance if you're backing up a heavy cavalry lance. So now this could be useful because the Grand Titan moving possibly at 9 hexes is pretty amazing. Also, one of these faster mechs trying to get around the flank, like the Wolfhound or the Assassin or the Scorpion, would be really awesome if you sped them up. So yeah, this could be really good, though it is a little underwhelming. Now, the next best, I think, in my opinion, would be the Firestar. This one would allow you to give one of your mechs the sniper ability, which would reduce its its extra difficulty modifiers, would reduce them in half from medium or long range. This could be really good in certain situations, especially with the Grand Titan when firing off those ER PPCs when you're at a fairly good distance. But again, while a little more impressive, I think, than the cavalry lance ability, this is still possibly a little underwhelming. Next on the list is if your other lance is a battle lance and you're backing up the battle lance, what happens is you get 3 rerolls during the entire game. This is getting really cool. Rerolls for either piloting skill rolls or shooting. This could be very good. And you know what? 3 rerolls is not as much as the 6 that the normal battle lance gets, but actually at this point, when this is a lance that's getting in point blank and is like a kill or be killed lance, that could be just fine. This could go very well, giving this half of the battle lance ability. But my number one lance that I would love to back up with this lance is a command lance. And the reason is, with the command lance, while you don't get another reroll for the initiative, which the command lance normally gets, you do get the full ability of having 2 of your lances, 2 of your mechs in this lance, being able to use combat intuition. And there's a lot of mechs in this lance that would love to use combat intuition to be able to move and fire before one of their enemy mechs moves or does anything. And that's really awesome. You'd get rid of all of the extra difficulty that you would add from their movement. You can run up behind them and unload on them with a lot of weapons, or run up into their face and unload on them with a lot of weapons. Either way, this could be incredibly deadly, having two lances on your side of the table that both get 2 units each turn that you could possibly do combat intuition with, which I think could be absolutely awesome, especially since you have saved 419 battle value for that other lance. There you have it. That is my idea for the Grand Titan. I've run you through which versions I like and don't like, and I made a custom version which I personally like a lot better. And then, of course, I have a thoroughly custom lance that I made as a support lance. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do you have a version of the Grand Titan that, I'm wrong about, that maybe you have had great success with? Let me know. Let me know down below. In addition, let me know what you would do with a custom version of the Grand Titan, and what would be your favorite lance to make with the Grand Titan, either a canon version or your custom version. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you have a request for a particular mech for me to cover in an episode of Grokking Battletech, please do try to keep it to mechs that were introduced either in the Star League, Succession War, Clan Invasion, or the Civil War time periods, because I'm trying to stick to those time periods before moving on to later time period mechs. But if you have a request of any mech introduced in any of those time periods for me to cover, feel free to comment down below. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grokking Battletech, and you'd like to see me do more like it, be sure to give this video a like, share it on all forms of social media, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to the Board Game Captain. That's Captain spelled with a K on YouTube. And until next time, game on.